What is up, everybody? In this video, we're going to go over why are so many traders failing? Why is the failure rate so statistically high? And I know that says 2024 at the beginning. Look, every few years I do one of these videos where I go over why is the failure rate so high in trading. And let me tell you, over my 9-year career of trading, these statistics are always the same every year for the most part. My name is Fat Cat. I've been trading the ESE mini futures, like I said, for 9 years at this point. I've created a trading community back in January 2020. I'm currently mentoring one specific trader to get him into six-figure trading. I've talked to a lot of retail traders. I've coached a handful of them, and over the years, I can tell you why the failure rate is so high. See, here's the thing. The reality of the situation is not what's being portrayed online. Most people are having problems. Most people are struggling. Most people are blowing out these combines. And all we're hearing is the success stories. So therefore, it appears online that most people are doing well. Well, the same thing happens with couples on social media. About 6 months ago, I went to a wedding party for some friends of mine, and they broke up that night. And they've yet to get back together. And my girlfriend at the time was like, wow, they seem so happy on social media. Yep, well, the online world is different than the reality. And when I have traders DMing me or I'm really working with traders, I can tell you the reality of the situation is a lot different than what you're fucking seeing online. In this video, I got all sorts of little graphics and a little presentation. So let's start off with this pyramid. I decided to put the statistics in the pyramid. We can see that 100% of the people who start this are always at the bottom. According to Top Step at the time, they had 100,000 tryouts. Out of the 100,000 tryouts, only 12.4% actually got funded. And out of that, only 3.5 actually received a fucking payout. Then on top of that, only 0.1% are currently live funded. Then I put this question mark here, and notice the pyramid doesn't have a line here. I think we're missing some data. Out of those live fundeds, technically speaking, the 3.5% of people who received a payout were live funded at one point or another. My question is, out of the live funded, what is the percentage of people who've gotten 2 payouts in a row versus 3 payouts in a row versus 4 payouts in a row versus, I guess, 1 payout in a row, right? Should have started with 1. I imagine that 0.1% starts to get an extra 0 in front of it. So it's 0.01, 0.001%. I mean, it's no secret. We all know this statistic. We all know the fucking failure rate is, well, according to this, really fucking high. So I'm here to answer the question of why the fuck is this so high? See, I think if we can answer that question, we can prevent this from becoming a problem, right? Actually, never mind. This is always going to be a problem. However, if we answer the question, at least one of you might be able to go up a few tiers on here. Look, anybody that gets into trading, they think they're the guy. They think they're going to figure it out. They think they're going to be up here, right? Everybody that gets into this thinks they're going to make a lot of money. That's why you got into it. So are the people at the bottom stupid? What is the problem? Well, a lot of people would argue it's edge. Most traders simply don't have edge. I would certainly agree to that. However, the community is divided. If you've been doing this for a number of years, you'll say, hey, psychology is the problem. I know what I should be doing, but I keep self-sabotaging myself. I can tell you that talking to traders who are completely transparent with me what is going on in their trading, they're all dealing with psychological issues. And if we remove the trades that have psychological issues, we can see that there is some consistency. So what is it? Is it edge? Is it psychology? I would say it's both. You just might have edge, but you keep getting in the fucking way. And the internet's advice would be just have more fucking discipline. You know, that type of advice just sucks. That's not how that works. There are specific triggers that are causing specific events that cause psychological issues, which I will show you. But you can have the greatest psychology in the world, but without edge, that's still going to be a problem. Now, I'm someone who's known for talking a lot about psychology. I don't seem to talk enough about edge. I think edge is more complex than a system. Having good psychology in its own right is edge. If you don't get upset when you're trading, that's good. If you're getting upset while you're trading, well, that hurts your results. So in my opinion, edge is more than just a setup. However, knowing how to trade, relying on some sort of system or setups or techniques is important. So let's answer the question of why does this pyramid look this way? Why are most people not able to get funded unless people are able to get payouts? Well, it might have something to do with this. Years of experience. There are more people with 1 year or less experience than there are traders who have 2 years. There are more 2-year traders than there are 3 years. There are more 3-year traders than there are 4 years. I'm up here in the 9-year category. Do you know how many other traders I meet that have the same amount of experience or more than me? Not many. I'm shocked. Like, I feel like COVID was like just yesterday, but it's been about 6 years now. And I'm just shocked, like, there's a whole bunch of fucking traders that have not experienced that type of volatility. There is plenty of traders in this area that just have never experienced the COVID volatility. And if you didn't trade that time, holy shit. That's all I can say. I have older videos on the channel that actually show the volatility back then. You would have to dig through my channel to find them. So the question is, as this pyramid goes up, is the level of experience being reflected here? Are the people who are actually getting payouts or live funded, and the ones that are live funded that are getting 2 payouts in a row or 3 payouts in a row or 10 payouts in a row, do they simply just have more experience? I would say yes. I'm going to speculate on this, but I'm going to say yes. And I got more cool little charts that explain why I think this is the case. Now, is this the only reason this looks the way it does? No, I think there's other reasons. We'll go over that as well. However, part of the problem is there are a lot of traders who just don't have enough experience. So why is experience so important? This is why experience is so important. I'm going to put that back because I don't want you to be reading it just yet. The hardest thing in trading is what? Is it really having edge, a system? That's what most influencers would lead you to believe. I'll tell you what the hardest thing in trading is. You start trading. It takes you a while to figure out what's going on. You start to develop a system, setups. You start to trade them. It starts to work. But then all of a sudden, the trading environment or the regime changes. Whatever you were doing doesn't work. Did the edge go away? It sure seems that way. So you start experimenting, attempting to learn other approaches. How can I trade this environment? Because what I was doing isn't working anymore. You start to figure it out. You're doing well, maybe a week, 2 weeks, and then it changes again. Shit, what I was doing doesn't work anymore. I just don't have edge. This cycle continues to happen. You figure out what's going on, regime changes, you start losing, and then you feel like you're several steps behind. And you feel like you're several steps behind the market. It's like always a step ahead of you. Figure out what's going on, market changes, you start losing, and you're just losing more than what you're making once you figure it out. And by the time you figure it out, it feels like the market's fucking with you, the regime changes. Just something about the price action is different. Alrighty, let's take a look at this. This is volatility. The volatility can be low, medium, or high. It can also be in between. So think of this like a scale. It doesn't just go low, medium, high. It can be anywhere in between. Sometimes we have really high volatility that cycles back into low volatility. Let me ask you this. If you're brand new and you start trading low volatility, then how the fuck can you possibly be good in high volatility environments? You have zero fucking experience in high volatility. That's a problem. You're not going to be good in high volatility. Volatility is how fast the market is moving. Is it moving just a little bit? Is it going up and down really fast? Is it kind of in the middle? I would tell you this, most day traders tend to do better in higher volatility. Chasing stocks in play is a way to do it, but most of us are sticking to one product, ES, NASDAQ, gold, whatever, or we could be bouncing between a few products, but since we're doing that, we're at the mercy of these volatility shifts. And it takes skill to get good in each one of them. Here's the next issue, liquidity. This is the resting limit orders on a depth of market. If you go watch my How to Read a DOM video and you look at ES, it was about, 350 contracts on average on all the bids and offers. Now it's not like that anymore. It could be like 60 contracts deep. And COVID, it got all the way down to like 6 lots at times, where ES almost look like NASDAQ does today. Now, whether you look at order flow on a DOM or not, I'm going to tell you this. The amount of liquidity that's actually on the depth of market is affecting the price action, and that does affect the way you trade or your edge. This is where a depth of market is useful, is just knowing how thin or thick the depth of market is. So here you have thin liquidity, right? Maybe the ES is 6 lots on average. Maybe it's medium. Maybe it's like 60 contracts on average on the bid offer depth. Or maybe it's really thick. Maybe it goes up to 120, 150 contracts on average. You might start to see that on the close. The last 10 minutes, you see the DOM thicken up. There can be days where it's like that all day. That's a regime shift. The liquidity coming in and out affects the price action. If there's a panic scenario like COVID, the liquidity starts to come out. Naturally, it starts to get thinner. If we're at all-time highs, it tends to thicken up. But then there's times where the liquidity just completely breaks. Pre-COVID, the liquidity was thick in ES. After COVID, it got thinner. Never came back. I don't see 350 contracts bid offer anymore. And I haven't for 6 fucking years. That is a regime shift over the years. For several years, we had a thick DOM. COVID happens, boom, broken. Never came back. That in turn affects how choppy the fucking market is. Because if you look at the daily volume on a daily chart, the actual volume coming in can be similar to what it was pre-COVID. But since the liquidity is thinner now, this creates more chopping. Whereas when the liquidity was thicker and we have a similar day with similar volume to a thinner liquidity environment, the price action will chop less. That leads us into the next category, volume flow, the pacing of the actual volume coming into the market. Right on the open, it comes in really fast. Right on the close, it comes in really fast. Near the afternoon, it starts to slow down. There are certain days where the ebb and flow of the volume is higher than others. Each one of these things is affecting each other. We can have a thin liquidity day with medium volatility and fast volume, or we can have a thin liquidity day with high volatility and fast volume, or we can have a thin liquidity day with low volatility and fast volume. What's that telling us? That's telling us there's a lot of reloading going on. All that reloading, that affects our edge, our finesse. So you can have any one of these paired with the other one. You can have medium, 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 thin, 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 low, fast, slow, thick, medium, right? And then you have everything in between, right? Slow, fast, medium. That's just like a broad general way to show volume flow. But think of it like a sliding scale. We could be like medium slow or, medium fast. It's kind of like a steak. Is it rare? Is it medium rare? Medium well done, right? There's a sliding scale here. So all that pairing makes the regime different. And if you've not experienced fast flow, you're going to have problems. If you've never experienced slow flow, you're going to have problems. If you never experienced slow flow and low volatility, you're going to have problems. If you've traded low volatility with fast flow, then it goes down to medium volatility. All of a sudden, you're going to have problems in low volatility with medium flow, right? As these different conditions pair with each other, the market regime changes. Therefore, the price action actually fucking changes. Therefore, your finesse, your edge, your setups shift. But wait, there's more. There's a triangle in the middle, the auction process. Now, you're either familiar with ranges or trends. You don't know what value search is. Maybe you know what value search is. And when I say auction process, you're probably thinking of a volume profile. Look, a volume profile, a perfectly shaped bell curve, that's usually done on ranging, right? If you've looked at enough volume profile to price action relationships, you don't need a profile to see what's going on. You could just see the price action and understand, hey, we're in a range. You don't need a profile to know you're in a range. Now, there's times where profiles can create good curves on uptrends. That does happen. Now, there is a third category here called value search. So what I mean by auction process is exactly what you're seeing here. Are we in a range or are we in a trend? Or are we in value search? This is where it's neither a range nor is it a trend. It looks like it's about to be a trend, but then it kind of looks like it's a range, but it's like all mixed the fuck up. And we've been seeing a lot more of that in the recent years, which leads us into the next part of this. What time frame is the auction process happening in? Is it higher time frame, low, or medium? So do we have a range on a high time frame, but we're in a trend on a low time frame? Are we in a value search on a high time frame, but we're in a range on a medium time frame? The different time frames and the different auction processes on the different time frames are going to affect the price action. There can be years where we have higher volatility, thin liquidity, and medium volume flow. But then there can be years where it's low volatility, slow flow, medium liquidity. So as the years go on, the regime overall changes. As we go month to month, all of this is shifting. As we go day to day, this is all adjusting. And as we trade intraday, it shifts, right? Think about it, FOMC. On the FOMC minutes, we could be in a range and it could be low flow, low volatility. FOMC comes in and then boom, it kicks up. Not every FOMC does that. Some of them die where there's just no flow. But that's where you see everything shift. And then maybe trading before FOMC was hard, but trading it is easier. You know, maybe it's the other way around for some people. They struggle in one environment over the other. This is why years of experience is important, because the more of these different stages you've been through, the more you've learned them, the more experience you have with them, the more you're able to actually make an adjustment or have the finesse to trade in the different regime shifts. Traders with only a couple of years of experience have not gone through the cycle of this multiple times over. Once you go through enough of it, you start to see it and you start to understand how to make the changes. Last year, we spiked at VIX 50, which means the volatility was extremely fucking high, right? 20-point moves in the ES, no problem. And I was coaching a trader at the time. I'm still coaching him. He hasn't experienced that type of flow. He was trading a one-lot mini. I said, you're going down to micros. So we put him on like a one-lot micro. He didn't like it, but I'm like, we need to expand your stops and your profits because the volatility is really high. The reason you need to expand your stops is because you're going to get blown out immediately. Like if your stops are too tight in high volatility, your stops are going to be getting nailed like all the fucking time. So you need to stretch them out a little bit to let the trade breathe some more because it's just moving more. It's the same price action in higher volatility and low volatility, but it's more stretched, right? And then since you're going to be potentially taking on more risk, you need to also expand how much you're taking. So this trader usually was taking about 4 ticks on average. Well, now we need to be going for more. We need to be going for like 2.5 points to 5 points. And when you have higher volatility environments, that's just, you make more money. Traders make more money in these higher volatility regimes, assuming they have the experience. I struggled in COVID because I've never experienced volatility at that level. However, last year when the volatility got really high, I knew exactly what to do. I made the adjustments. I had no fucking problem. It was through the 9 years of going through several regime cycles, learning the finesse of each regime cycle, the adjustments, that I started to be able to identify a regime shift quicker, right? As you gain more experience, you're going to start to notice when the regime is changing, and you start to identify quicker and quicker how you need to make that adjustment. Now, if the regime changes and you're not familiar with that environment, you're going to have to experiment. And it could take you a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks to figure out that new regime. As you have more years, you're able to identify the regime shift faster, and you're able to make the adjustments quicker. If you have less experience, you may not even identify that the environment has changed. You're doing something that worked on the open or that was working for the last week, and now it's not working and you don't know why. And then you're like, oh, I think something has changed in the marketplace. And then you start to have to experiment. So it's just slower for you to identify this and to make the adjustments. Because of the environment, because of the regime, it takes more years of experience to learn the finesse, which in reality, edge is fleeting. Edge is not the stagnant fucking A to Z systematic thing I do over and over, no matter how the regime is. That's not how it works. Your edge has to adapt and flow with this constantly shifting. And newer traders don't understand that. And since we have way more 1-year traders than 2 years, than 3-year traders, we're going to have way more 1-year traders doing this. Therefore, the failure rate is just going to be higher because they don't understand how to make adjustments. And they don't have edge every time this thing is shifting. They may have edge in one specific environment, but once it starts shifting around, the edge goes away. And the idea of what edge is for traders down here is a lot different than the idea of what edge is for traders way up here. Everything I shared is not the only reason traders are failing. Yes, experience obviously has a lot to do with it, and I've shared why. However, there are different types of people that are getting into this. The first one is lazy people. There are a lot of people who think this is the best way to make a lot of money quickly. The barrier to entry is really low, and you have the potential to click a button and make thousands of dollars in seconds. You don't have to build a business. You don't have to talk to customers. You can just sit in your room on your computer and make trades. So naturally, that brings in a lot of lazy people. But the reality of this is you have to do a lot of work to create and find edge, as well as fix your psychology. And the thing is, most people are just creatures of habit. We wake up, do the same thing. Our brains don't like us to make changes. Our brains are not programmed for uncertainty. It is programmed for certainty. And whatever your little habits are or whatever you're doing on the day-to-day, you're in a safe place according to your brain. And once you start to step out of that, it starts screaming at you. And it's extremely uncomfortable. The amount of hours and things you need to do to reprogram the brain. It's just too many lazy people aren't going to do this. The amount of time it takes to actually narrow down where the edge is, too many people aren't going to do this. Trading is a business, and most people don't start businesses. Most people are just employees. In trading, you got to be your own risk manager, your own psychologist, your own accountability partner, your own statistician, because you need to be recording your trades, reviewing your trades, and tagging your trades. And when you tag your trades, you need to actually be reviewing the statistics. The last video I made on trade tags goes over all of this. I highly recommend it. This video is what is going to help you get better. However, I can tell you this video performed like fucking shit compared to the other videos that I've put out. The moment things start to get nerdy or technical, people don't want to watch it. People are not interested in doing what it takes to improve. And speaking of tags, this video is sponsored by Tradecraft. This is my own tagging platform that allows you to find clarity in your trades. That way you can have direction on where you need to go. In fact, this was last week. Notice it started off roughly sideways. Because of the review process, I started to make the adjustments I needed to get the equity curve to boost up midweek. Without the reviewing process, without the tagging process, I could have not done this. You have to have clarity in order to have direction to get good at this. And most people are they're fucking lazy. The next type of person is uneducated people. Now, I think this is going to be wild. One could argue you could find everything on the internet for free. You fucking can't. This video right here, there's no other video like this until I created it. There are things that I don't talk about publicly on this YouTube channel that just aren't anywhere else. There are things that I've searched for that I have knowledge on that I just can't fucking find. And when I interrogate AI about it, it can't seem to find the fucking answer because it doesn't exist on the web. Therefore, it can't resource what I'm looking for. So no, not everything is on the internet for fucking free. However, there's so much goddamn material on the internet. There is more stuff on the internet today than there was yesterday for trading. And there will be more education tomorrow than there was today. Here's the thing. There is so much goddamn fucking information that some of it is outdated. Some of it doesn't work. And almost all of it is conflicting with itself. You as a new trader have no fucking idea what direction you need to go. Therefore, you're getting hit with information overload. And you're none the wiser to know whether something is good or not. And because of this, there's going to be a lot of fucking trial and error. After all, you're trying to make millions of dollars, right? It's like mining gold. You're going to have to do a bunch of prospecting to figure out where the gold vein is. Now, most of the time, you're going to be finding a little bit of gold within the content. Maybe you watch a 2-hour video and there was one little nugget of gold. Now, a lot of people get upset, right? But that's just how it is. You are panning and mining for gold. So you're going through a prospecting phase and you have to keep putting these little golden nuggets in a piggy bank. And it takes time. And as you pan for gold, what do you have to go through? A lot of dirt, a lot of rocks, and just a shitload of material that doesn't fucking matter. A lot of people complain about it, but that's part of the process. That's a process for really taking on anything of any significance. Also, when I started, the content was vastly different. Trading content has become, well, it looks the same. It has this like influencer look to it, pretty backgrounds, right? Which I don't fucking have. Amazing editing, which I don't fucking do, right? We got more and more short form content coming out. So people are trying to learn this shit as fast as possible. They're trying to get as many gold nuggets as they can as quick as possible without sifting through dirt. But that's the problem, is a lot of the content, this really vague trading content, it's just fluff. It's kind of all the same shit repackaged. It's the same guy with the same fucking background saying the same fucking shit over and over. It's become more influencer centric. Why? Because that's what gets clicks. In the end, you guys can complain about the trading content out there. I know a lot of people complain about the trading content, but you're part of the broader audience, and the broader audience, that's what they want. They don't want a 2.5 fucking hour video talking about statistics. They don't want that shit. They want a fucking AI fucking picture fucking thumbnail where I sit there and rant and rave for an hour and a half. That's what people want. But the moment, and it's funny because somebody's like, your content has changed, Fat Cat. You don't talk enough about your trading. Well, the moment I fucking do, nobody gives a shit. I write a lot about my content, by the way. If you go to fatcatsofwallstreet.com, link in the description, go to the blog section, or you can follow me on X. So I'm just now building out this blog, by the way. You can also follow me on X at RealFatCat1. I have a lot of written material. I like to write. I like to do more writing than I do making videos. So all that technical stuff you might be looking for is in written format. I also have a course section here. There is a primer course, okay? This primer course is to get you up to speed on my daily trade narrations. Remember how I talked about this right here? There's no way I can fucking put in a course what to do when this thing keeps fucking shifting. Nobody can. That's why watching my daily trade narrations, I timestamp all my videos, right? I record the sessions, timestamp the trades, so you can watch the trades 30 seconds beforehand. It's important to watch these narrations, and then I have my reviews. So record all my sessions, review all my sessions, tag my session. It's very important to see how I'm adjusting in the different environments, right? This gets you the course section. This gets you up to speed on what I'm doing during my actual live sessions. But there are things I'm like kind of figuring out or discovering that I need to do to make adjustments that I simply don't have in a course. Therefore, the actual recordings of my trading is more important in my opinion. Here's my raw equity curve over the course of the last 14 months since we started using Tradecraft. There is a total of 1,795 trades. All of these trades have been recorded and timestamped. So any one of these trades you want to see has been available. Now, I used to promote something called Coffee. Most of these trades are on Coffee. I've since moved to my own domain because I want a place to store my written material because I think it's really good. So we don't have every single episode, because that's a lot of episodes, on the new website. However, currently it's January 2026. As of November is when I started to put content on that website. So it is a newer website. And this is why I think course material or just education in general just doesn't do it, because a 5-minute video is going to tell you what to fucking do in every single one of these environments with actual examples. No, it's not. This is why I think my recorded sessions are a better way to educate, because you get to see how I'm actually navigating it on the hard right edge. And that's another problem with material, is a lot of the material is hindsight. It's like, well, look at here. I did this here and here, and it just looks good because you know what the move is after the fact. The problem is trying to find edge or trying to figure out what to do on the hard right edge. Once you're in that moment, all that material you've consumed sort of just goes out the window, and you're just like, I have no fucking idea what's about to happen. That can be problematic, right? So the way education is approached in my experience, it's just not good enough. And also, a lot of the content I make it's a lot more advanced. The people up here are going to appreciate the more advanced stuff, such as this video right here, than the people down here. However, most people that are watching trading content are going to be 1 year or less. Therefore, the demand is content for newer people. That's where the demand is. Simple, new. The more advanced it goes, the less these people fucking understand. However, the more these people appreciate it. But the audience just simply isn't big enough at some point when you get too advanced on the content. So the reason the content looks the way it does in today's landscape and sucks is because influencers are making content that gets clicks. And the content that gets clicks is just fluff, in my opinion. It's not good enough. I mean, it's one thing if it's like you're brand new and you need that real simple, easy to understand shit, but there's enough of that. But it keeps getting repackaged and regurgitated. And people respond to trick editing, great looking fucking backgrounds, some chick with titties. I don't know. It's just that's what you guys are responding. Therefore, the education just fucking sucks. So we have a combination of uneducated people, lazy people, right? Most traders are uneducated and they have to go through those regime cycles right here for multiple years before they actually start to get educated, because you need experience to understand this, to know how to make the adjustment, to have edge. So that's why this looks that way as far as failure rate goes. What's the next type of person? Desperate people. There are people who they need to make some money for whatever is going on in their life. They're trying to find some cash quickly, and they think this might be a viable method to do that. I've dealt with people who have bought my material who are in a place of desperation. It doesn't work that way. And the people who are really desperate are uneducated about what the fuck this really is. And they can just spend a couple of bucks to open up a combine and attempt to make thousands of dollars in a short period of time. This is why this looks the way it does. The next type of people are gambling addiction. Combines, unfortunately, since there's a lot of them just coming out of nowhere and they're competing with each other, they're doing things to attempt to get more retention, to cultivate more customers. Really, it's no different than casinos. If you're going to a casino, they're going to give you free drinks, a free room, a couple of nights at the hotel. If you're about to blow a combine, they'll discount the reset fee, right? Or you get a free reset fee every fucking month. Or they let you trade copy, buy a bunch of fucking combines, and then you can trade a shitload of contracts on multiple ones. Or they make them so cheap that churning through them is not a big deal. At that point, they become basically scratch-off tickets. And the gambling addiction in trading is not talked about enough. Gambling addiction is becoming more and more of a problem. Now you have different markets where you can gamble on fucking politicians. You got sports gambling. That's always been there, right? But now you got more and more marketing that is promoting gambling. You can gamble on the release date of Grand Theft Auto 6. And then they start to market this to kids, right? And then you're starting to see it in video games as well. So modern culture is just promoting more and more gambling. And that's what people want. But it's also a sickness. It's an addiction. And it's only getting worse because it's such a lucrative business to be in. And the people who have these gambling addictions, I think there's a fine line between a trader and a gambling addict. A trader is going to really do the work and attempt to do everything to mitigate risk and try to cultivate impulse control. Whereas people who have gambling addictions to this, they tend to not do the work. They just show up and do the same thing over and over and over. And they keep buying these things and they think since they got a payout, they know what they're doing. But in reality, they spent more money on the buying these things than they have gotten a payout. And most people are making well below minimum wage when they do get a payout on these, right? It took all this time and effort to make, $1,000, which is nothing. You could make more doing a regular job. So the reality of it is pretty grim. What's the next problem, person? Overconfident traders. There's a lot of people that think they're the guy that's going to figure it the fuck out. And look, it's great to really believe in yourself and shit. And it's great to have a lot of fucking confidence. But there's a point where the overconfidence can blind some. to the point where, hey, you're just not as good as you think. You need to do the work, cultivate edge and psychology. Who's the next problem trader? Teenagers. All right, this is going to seem a little ageist. I can't believe I just said that. But like I said, I've been dealing with the trading community since January of 2020. And talking to teenagers is arguably the fucking worst. No offense to you guys, but your brains aren't developed fully. You're definitely fucking overconfident, a lot of you. Your generation, especially this teenage generation, they've grown up in the era of TikToks, YouTube Shorts, which goes down to the next problem, people who lack focus, teenagers. We have so much more and more content coming out that humans are getting more and more overstimulated, and you need to have trick editing, shorter YouTube videos to retain attention because the focus is going away. People just don't have focus. You need fucking focus to do this job. You're going to be sitting there confused and bored a lot of the times. There is just going to be this point where, like, this isn't as fun or as stimulating as doom scrolling or looking at fucking TikToks or whatever the fuck you're doing, playing video games. This isn't that type of job. And as the newer generations come online, they're just being born into a world that promotes gambling. So it's pretty bad for the younger generation, right? Their focuses are going to shit. Their brains aren't developed, and who also has the most free time to actually be able to do trading? Trading takes, obviously, years to get good at it. Who the fuck has the free time to be able to sit here and do this? Teenagers. As you get older, you start to have jobs. You might have a kid. You might start to have a mortgage, a car payment. There's just a point where it's like, I can't do this if I wanted to because I have to go work a normal fucking job. Teenagers, who are also very easily influenced, right? Pictures of Lamborghinis, money, all that shit. They want that. This teenage culture, I sound like a fucking boomer of my generation, right? But this younger generation, for the most part, not all of them, since they have more and more of this social media, for them it's cool to have money. They are chasing the bag. And like I said about social media at the very beginning of this video, the reality of how the world works is not what we're seeing online, right? You got people who are making Instagram reels or stories where they look like they're living this lavish lifestyle or they're doing all these amazing things, but in the reality of it, their life can fucking suck. And it's all just a fucking illusion. But that influences teenagers especially, because for teenagers, it's all about the trend. Even kids as well, right? Pokemon cards, yo-yos were a thing. Then there was a generation of teenagers that was eating fucking Tide Pods, right? Or do that fucking thing where you guys flipped the goddamn bottle and if it landed right side up, you guys freaked out, right? Or when I was growing up, it was all about beer pong, So this generation is obviously influenced. And I would say that's probably who's making up a large portion of the people doing this that are getting into trading. And they just can't fucking focus. They ask me for fucking advice and they never fucking take it. It's working with people a bit older, somebody in their mid-20s, 30s, right? Those guys have more developed brains. They tend to be able to focus a bit better. So in my opinion, this is why we're seeing such a high failure rate. Now, another thing about focus is I was diagnosed with ADD as a teenager. Focus is a learned skill. Meditation, that helps you learn focus, right? You're doing something, you're focusing on breath, right? And you're trying to empty all the thoughts out of your head, but that's not entirely what meditation is. It's okay to have the thoughts in your head and stuff, but coming back to the breath every time the mind wanders and getting more and more of a longer stint where you're on the breath and that's it. That is a great practice to enhance focus. So in my opinion, these types of people are why we see the higher failure rate. Now, this isn't the only reason. Next, let's talk about Modius Operandi. I have a full-blown video on this. It's actually right here. Trading habits, find your trading identity and trading edge. I did this 9 months ago. I'm actually shocked I didn't make very many videos throughout the last 9 months. Well, it is what it is. So Modius Operandi, it's a test. It's a Colby Index A test. And it's not one of these fucking personality tests or any of that type of bullshit. Modius Operandi or the Colby Index A test, if you are allowed to do things your way, how do you do them? So this is my score right here. And your score is not good or bad. This is chronic right here. If you notice that we're both 7 red, I'm a 3 blue, he's a 2 blue. I'm a 6 red, he's a 5 red. He's a 6 yellow, I'm a 4 yellow. What the fuck does any of this mean? It is my belief that a certain type of personality is more fit for this job. I don't think anybody can just do trading. So let's explain what each one of these columns are. So when you take this test, you get like a score. So if you're anywhere in the fact finder from a 1 to a 3, you need information to be condensed, bullet points. You're more likely to be the type of guy that watches 5-minute trading videos or 10-minute trading videos. How do I do this? What are the key takeaways? Boom, boom, boom. That's what these type of people are. I used to get a lot of complaints about my videos being too long, and I used to be like, you can't fucking focus. But in reality, the people who complain that my videos are too long, they just need it to be condensed. So let's go to the opposite end of the spectrum. Specify. I'm a 7, so is Chronic, right? We're both 7s. We need specifics. We need the details. That's why a lot of my videos are over an hour long, because I am giving out the specifics. We do in-depth research, prioritized, and build on experience. Whereas anybody who's 4, 5, or 6, they're somewhere in between. They need some details, but not as many details as someone like me. But they also can't have information be presented in such a simplistic bullet point fashion. People who score 4, 5s, or 6, they're facilitators. They're in between people who need a lot of specific details and people who need things to be simplified. Usually people who are here are able to cater to both ends of the spectrum. Now, I've been doing YouTube for quite some time, and my channel just does not grow as fast for many reasons. I don't do the trick editing. My videos are really long. My background's not that fucking great. I don't know. I think my background's pretty sick, but it doesn't have that influencer feel. But also, I cater mostly to these types of people. People who want the specifics. Like, for instance, if there's trading content and it's like a 5-minute fucking video and it's just like bullet points, be more disciplined, follow your fucking trading plan, get your emotions in check, make sure you have edge, and that's all the fucking video talks about, that is way too vague for me. I can't fucking stand those videos because I'm on the other end of the spectrum. Whereas if it's in the middle, that's the sweet spot where an influencer can cater to both ends of the spectrum. So from my research in this Colby Index A, the people who are specialists in something, the people who are experts in a specific field are generally high red. Chronic and I, then if you're unfamiliar with who Chronic is, I definitely recommend going to my website and checking out the latest blog. It's called The Chronic Saga, Episode 1, Who is Chronic? This is just really solid. It goes over all my mentoring and coaching with him and how I've got him to improve. Like, I had been making content on Chronic for quite some time. It's all over X. A little bit of it is in video format. Some of it's on the Tradecraft website blog. And since I'm starting this new website, I'm like, you know what? Instead of trying to source all this fucking information and put it in here, I'm just going to start over. Who's Chronic? Everything we've experienced roughly for the last year. And it goes over, and it's a really lengthy read, but it's a fucking great read. It just goes over everything, the psychology of everything, brainwave states. I love fucking writing, and I just want to share this with you. I was tracking what worked for him, what wasn't working for him, what kind of was working, going over statistics with him, stuff like that, the difference between our ability to be clear in a session, just total A to Z. Really good read. It's lengthy as fuck. However, since Chronic and I are similar scoring, we resonate with each other. We get each other. Like, I've coached and dealt with other traders, but for some reason, Chronic and I feel like we're on the same fucking page. And I didn't know this. And when we took our Colby Index A tests, I realized, holy shit, our scores are similar. This explains a lot. So when I'm sitting here just explaining shit to him, he's getting it. And in my opinion, trading is sophisticated. You have to be a specialist. The failure rate is high because you need a lot of experience and you need to understand the shifting regimes. Like, this is complex, specific shit you need to understand. So it is my belief not everybody is cut out for this. And what's interesting is there were other guys that did this test with us, and the ones who were in the simplify category, they've all disappeared. Now, are they still trading? I don't know. But the ones who have done the test that are in the explain or specify category, they still seem to be here. Because trading is a giant puzzle. And for somebody like me, someone like Chronic, somebody who needs specifics, there's an obsession with trying to figure out one of the world's hardest puzzles, which is betting on a direction. Why does the market work the way it does? Why are the market makers spoofing? Why is there reloading there? I think pursuing trading requires somebody to be higher in this fact finder category. Because in my opinion, simple does not work. I see a lot of traders say it just needs to be simple. I've talked to one recently. Or influencers say that shit. But if it was that simple, the failure rate just wouldn't be this fucking high. So this red right here can explain some of the people in these categories. Now, I'll say this blue right here will definitely explain lazy people once I get to that. But on education, you know, there are more first-year traders than two-year traders, so it takes some time to actually get educated. But the level of research one individual does really depends on where they are in their MO. So somebody like me is just going to keep fucking learning and learning and learning and learning and learning. Therefore, our education starts to compound over the years much more than somebody who's approaching this from a simple standpoint. Now, I want to jump to the green column. We're going to skip the blue. We're going to go to the green. The green is how we deal with risk and uncertainty. That's exactly what the fuck trading is. It's risk and uncertainty. Chronic and I are both 5 for him, a 6 for me. So we're in the facilitator category. We're between high risk and low risk people. There are people who are very fucking low risk. In fact, I have somebody who's working for me with Tradecraft and helps me with the Fat Cats of Wall Street website. And he is, I believe he's like a 2 in this category. Very low risk. He's very on and off with trading. There's a lot of times where he just quits and just refuses to do it. But he also doesn't put real money on the line. He doesn't do combines or anything. He just struggles with like sim trading. And he just doesn't trade because he knows he won't be good at it. He's really high in the specify category. He's like a 9 or some shit up here. So he's super like specific. But when we're talking about like marketing, when it comes to tradecraft, he wants to do proven things that have worked. And when I start pitching out wild fucking ideas, he wants to just stick to what works because he was worked for other trading companies and have done their marketing. He wants to just, that's it, low risk. So people who have a low risk tolerance in this area, this job's not cut out for them because they can't deal with risk and uncertainty. Whereas somebody who's on the other extreme, these are more likely going to be gambling addiction. Now, I would say desperate people can be all over the place, right? But to come in and start buying a combine and trying to make money is telling me you have higher risk tolerance from a place of desperation. So you need to be able to deal with risk and uncertainty. So you need to be somewhere on the mid to the high end spectrum. The developer of Tradecraft is high in this spectrum. I can't remember what he is exactly. I believe he's a 9. And for the longest time there, he was taking 50 trades a day. And he has slowed down, but it's taken a lot of work for him to be able to do that. So if you're a real hardcore over trader in general, you're going to be higher up in this spectrum. And the few traders I've dealt with who have taken this test, you can see the results in their trading. Whereas the ones that are way down here, they are taking way less fucking trades. So in my opinion, you need to almost be high red and you need to be, I think, mid green, honestly. And the reason I'm saying mid green is because you're going to take risk. You're a facilitator. You're between risk seeking and also willing to mitigate risk as well. Where the people up here, they don't like risk. The people down here, they don't mitigate risk. They just go for it. Like I said, I think there is a specific type of personality that is cut out for trading. It's not for everybody. And the next trader, whomever it might be that I coach, is also going to take this test. Because I'm seeing interesting things, patterns with the people that did take the test in their trading. So we'll talk about follow through, blue. I'm pretty low, Chronic's pretty low. This is follow through. If you're low blue, you are very disorganized. So for somebody that's high green, you're going to start a task, no problem, right? I'm quick to start projects. I fucking suck at finishing them. That's what this is. Low blue is going to be your fucking lazy people. And I've struggled with just being a fucking slacker a lot of my life. And it's been a tremendous amount of work to get away from it. I consistently do my reviews, I consistently tag, but sometimes my reviews might get pushed on to the next day. Someone who is low blue, we need shortcuts. We have to be flexible. We thrive on interruptions. Being consistent and machine-like on the day-to-day is really tough for people that are low blue. It is difficult to just like have this like time-blocked schedule and just stick to it. Whereas somebody who's on the opposite end of the spectrum, systematize, these are going to be people that are more organized. They clean shit up. If they come home, they're putting their shoes in one spot. They're not throwing their shirt onto the back of the couch like I might do. They're very organized. They can build flow charts, systematize thing. This is a good trait to have. And I did have a trader who was extremely low green, very high blue. And I had him lean into his Modius Operandi, and he just built system after system. He was doing that before he even took the test. And what you want to do is when you take this test, you want to lean into your strengths. I need to become systematic in a lot of ways, but also I am a discretionary trader. I do take trades that sort of have this flow to it. Like I don't need things to be super systematized to the point I need everything to exactly align. I have the ability to just like flow. Yet there is order and structure. Versus somebody like this, they will wait all fucking day for that one fucking trade to come around. Assuming they're low risk tolerance, right? If they're high risk, high systematized, they might be taking more trades, but it's really mechanical, super mechanical. Finally, we have yellow. So the way this is sort of described is a little funky. People who are high up in this area, then vision, they can visualize stuff. And I talk a lot about doing visual exercises, doing visualizations. I can usually see something before I build it. Like when it came to tradecraft, I knew what I wanted to see, and then it became reality. I've always been good at that, seeing it in my head, and then it comes. I'm a 4, so I'm like right between envision and demonstrate. People who are going to be high demonstrate, they need to physically see shit. These are people who are like, the proof is in the pudding. I don't believe it until I see it. Whereas the people up here, they can like imagine and visualize it and see it without actually seeing it in real life. The tradecraft developer is higher up. He's like a 7 in this category. Now, I'm not sure which one of these really makes a difference for good trading performance, right? Or if one of these makes or breaks somebody if they have the ability to do this job. But like what's interesting with the tradecraft developer is he has the most unique fucking ideas, and they're really good, and they can be nuts too, because he's an innovator over here, for example, right? So he's really into innovation. Traders that are going to be high innovator are also going to be building their own systems. They're not going to really be looking at courses. The people who are mid, like me, I'll look at material, I'll look at courses, but I start to modify the fuck out of it. Like when I start telling Chronic exactly what he needs to do, because he trades almost identical to me, he starts to tweak and adjust the system that I have him trade, because he's a modifier just like I am. People who are low green, they're gonna look at a trading course and do it by the book, but yet they don't have the risk appetite for risk and uncertainty. So the thing is, a lot of people are like, in the trading space, if edge was handed to you on a silver platter, would you take it? And my answer is no. This is why I'm not afraid to share what I think works online, because the people who are trading, they're going to be mid to high green. They have risk appetite. And since they're high green, they're going to modify the fuck out of what I tell them, or they just create their own thing. So this is kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't stat, because in a lot of ways, people are constantly reinventing the wheel. There are systems and techniques and methods that if you just stick to it, it'll work. but you have to be low green. And those people, they just can't handle risk and uncertainty in trading. So the people that come in and do this, they're going to be modifying or just innovating. Therefore, every trader really does create their own unique trading identity. The way I see it is you basically got to nerd out about trading. When I first got into trading, the content was a lot different. It was more nerdy shit. It was more technical shit. Now it's become more influencer simplified, right? I think somebody that's going to be good at this is going to be in the specific category because trading really is not simple. It's sophisticated. And they got to have some ability to be risk seeking. Now, I would argue to say somebody needs to be more likely in the middle where they will take risk, not too much risk, because they also need to be able to mitigate risk. And it's interesting because the two people that work for me, knowing what their MOs are, dude, it fucking reflects. Like one of the guys that's working for me that I already told you about, he's high blue, low green. Well, due to the nature of his high blue, well, actually, he's more like mid blue. When I give him a task, this guy just fucking finishes it. Good follow through, and he gets it done pretty fucking quick. Alrighty, guys, let's talk about the kill chain next. This is going to be how the trading session unfolds for you guys, and this is exactly how you're fucking up and blowing up combines or having a bad day. So the first thing that we have is lack of clarity. Clarity is edge. I talk about clarity in this video, and in this chronic blog, I also talk about clarity as well. If we go down, we'll be able to see the statistics between chronic and I. These are all of our tag traits. Green means we're clear, red means we're confused, and yellow means we're somewhere in between clear and confused. Now, between me and 5 other traders who track this exact same tag, all of our equity curves look similar in the sense that green always performed and always seemed to have positive expected value. Yellow or red always underperformed. Now, the difference between Chronic and I is he has far more yellows and reds than he does green. I have far fewer yellows and reds than I do green. The reason for that is because I have more experience, so I'm more clear about what the regime is. Remember when we talked about this? It's really hard for traders with less experience to understand where we are in this, and let alone have the experience to even finesse or have any form of edge in these adjusted different environments that are coming in. Where are we? What is the time frames doing, and how do I finesse it? How do I adjust to it? The more you go through that, the more clear you are, the better your trading decisions will be. Edge is clarity. You understand the environment. Not every system or setup, I should say, not every technique works in every regime. They're cycling in and out, in and out. Therefore, edge is fleeting. Edge for specific techniques, setup systems is coming in and out, depending on how this is rotating. When you are clear, you understand the environment we're in. You should be able to forecast or predict smaller movements. So even though you're not taking a trade, your setup is not there, you are able to somewhat predict the rotations that are coming in. You can see where there might be a stop run. You might see where there's a lot of resistance forming. You have a good pulse on the price action. After so many years of experience, you're going to be able to hopefully predict a bunch of micro rotations. Not big rotations. This is why small time frames, I think, are really good. I scalp, right? And on a 3-second chart, predicting these small micro rotations, the more I can predict them, the more clear I am on what is going on. And if I'm more clear about what is going on, I'm going to make better trading decisions. And the trades work. We just saw the statistics behind it. Now, the way you do this is you do a checklist. You run a checklist. For example, in Tradecraft, here's my checklist to figure out what's going on. I don't take an actual trade. What I do is I take mental trades, and I do watch the DOM to make sure I can get filled when I'm in a limit order. So am I going for breakouts or fades? Let's say I go for a breakout. Now, we need to reset this real quick. Click this green arrow. So I go for a breakout. Notice there's a 1 here. Now, when I got in the trade, did it immediately go against me or did it go in my favor when I took the mental trade, right? Let's say it immediately went against me 8 ticks and then it didn't work. So that's telling me I'm wrong. This might not be the environment where I need to do a breakout. So I'm going to put loss breakout. Now let's say, let's try a fade. I'm going to try to do a mental trade where let's try a fade. Okay, it did work and it did go in my favor about 4 ticks, but then it would have blown out 8 ticks. So what this is telling me is this is the type of environment where I may need to be picking up 4 ticks. Maybe trying to go for 8 ticks, 12 ticks. It's just too much for this specific environment. Then we'll put when fade. Did it overshoot? This is asking me if the trade went against me a little bit before it went in my favor, not in this specific circumstance. And then what I do is I keep doing these pulse checks until I start winning. Now, there's another method of doing it is where you take an actual sim trade. For example, this is Chronic over the last week. These are his pulse checks. So this is him arriving first thing in the morning. He starts taking sim trades to figure out what's going on. Notice how the equity curve is negative. Once he figures out what's going on, he starts to take his live trades. Notice the equity curve for his live trades is actually up. So this is a thing, and I recommend reading this. I really do. I notice in my trading that the moment I sat down a handful of times per week, I would immediately be losing. And I was really good at like fixing the day. And this was all last year. I kept taking on losing trades. Now, it wasn't every day that I would immediately take losing trades, but definitely multiple times a week, losing trade, and then I could fucking bounce back. So my equity curve would be like down and then up. Really good at this. And I started to think, right? Because that's what I do. I'm high red. I need to know the specifics. I started to think, hey, maybe it's because I'm getting warmed up with the price action. Maybe it's because when I first sit down, I don't understand the regime. I don't get the fucking price action. Like, I could try something that worked really well yesterday, and then I try it in today's session, and it's just not fucking working. This is why I say edge isn't what you think it is. And once I get warmed up and I really can feel the market, I start to make better decisions. So how can I just not be down right away? Simple. Take pulse check trades or do what Chronic does and take sims on a different account. That doesn't matter. It's just a sim trade. And then when he knows what is going on, he has clarity, swap over. For us currently in my coaching with him, this is the most important thing to do. He is not allowed to take any trades until he is fucking getting at least 3 winners in a row. Now, we're both scalpers, so there's a lot of opportunity for us, right? You know, some traders would be like, fuck, that could be a wasted opportunity. They're scared they're going to lose a good trade by just like sim trading it or doing a mental trade. Well, I can tell you, well, I'll just fucking show you. The kill chain is what happens when you don't take the time to gain clarity, right? Sometimes you know what's going on the moment you sit down, but a lot of the times it takes you a moment to figure it out. So for damn near all of you, when you're sitting in a session, you have no idea what the regime is. What happens when you're sitting there and it's been like 40 minutes? You get impatient, right? And I can tell you, talking and working with a lot of traders, impatience is the biggest killer for all of you. And you'll see as the kill chain unfolds. So after you get impatient, what do? You take a fucking shitty trade and it's a loss. Now, sometimes when you're impatient, you do take a winner. You got lucky. There can be a winner, but you still have no idea what's going on in the environment. You think, oh, the trade won, I know what's going on. No, you took an impulsive trade that just happened to win. That's bad. And if you're to continue this process, the next impatient trade most likely will lose. So after you take a loss, what happens? You're upset over the P&L. Lack of contentment. What happens when you're upset over the P&L? Because the P&L is the biggest metric for you guys. P&L is something you all hyper-focus on. Well, you're impatient. You want to fix that. You're thinking about that loss. We don't have clarity. So now our focus has gone from what the fuck is going on in the market to I'm really uncomfortable. If you take an impulsive trade, you are mentally uncomfortable. And in order to relieve that discomfort, you take an impulsive trade. And then when you're upset over the P&L, now you're more focused on the P&L than you are trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. And then you're impatient because you're upset over the P&L and you need to fix that loss. And then you take another trade and it could be a win, but most likely it'll be another fucking loss. Then at some point after you take so many losses, you get fucking tilted. So if we go to my videos and you scroll down, keep scrolling. This one right here, ideal trading emotions. I talk about these three emotions specifically: calmness, contentment, patience. The opposite of calmness is tilt. The opposite of contentment is lack of contentment. That has to do with P&L. The lack of patience is FOMO, or impatience, right? Those are the opposite. You got to look at it like a three-legged table. If one of the legs collapses, your focus or the turkey falls off the fucking table. Remember how I said lack of focus is an issue earlier in this presentation? Well, here you have it. Once all three of these go, you're fucked. So right here, impatience. One of the legs of the table went. We're starting to lose focus. We're upset over the P&L. Lack of contentment. Another leg of the table goes. We become impatient. We take a loss. Then the third leg goes. You are no longer calm. You are FOMOing because you're not happy with the P&L and you're fucking pissed. Notice how the colors are going from green to progressively red. You're starting to get upset. What happens next? Well, we're tilt. We took another loss. We're upset over the P&L. What happens then? We revenge trade. We're trying to desperately fix a fucking P&L. Oh, I got a free fucking reset. Fuck it. I'm going to go all in on this one, right? Because you might be fucking high green. I'm going to take that fucking risk. I'm going to take that risk and I'm going all in. And then boom, blowout. Combine's gone. The kill chain. This is the order of how you guys blow out. Now, it's going to be different between different traders, right? For example, some traders can't even handle one loss before they fucking tilt. Some traders can handle maybe 3-4 losses before they start to tilt. Your loss tolerance from one trader to another is higher or lower, just depending on how much work you've actually put into be able to maintain proper psychology. So what really matters, fucking edge or psychology? What came first, the chicken or the egg? This is the kill chain. When you guys are blowing out, it is a psychological fucking problem. I've seen it. I've seen it time and time again. And I've not seen any trader with my own eyes. You know, people talk online, but people who are actually trading with me in front of me, sharing what's going on, I've not seen psychology not be a fucking issue. Psychology has hands down a problem for every fucking person I've ever personally dealt with. And I've dealt with a lot of people to understand there is a pattern with retail traders. It all starts with clarity. Gain clarity with checklist. Tradecraft has that checklist feature I just showed you, right? You come in here, you can build out your checklist. It's node style. You can build full-blown trading systems in here. There just might be parts of your trading that you forget, and a checklist helps you. For example, I have this tag right here. When I do a review, sometimes I didn't see a pattern that I should see because, like, if I saw that pattern, I would have made a different decision. So I tag when I didn't see a pattern on a review. Now let's see how that's affecting my performance. God damn, it's fucking me. That's 134 trades that have cost me $81,000. And this is a newer tag, by the way. Not seeing something that I should know better. I should know to use that. I should be seeing that. Most of the time I see that thing, I trade it. But today, or this specific trade, I didn't see that thing. I didn't see a specific pattern I normally see. Costs a lot of money. And with a checklist, this can be fucking avoided. But you don't tag, so you would not fucking know, right? You wouldn't know how big of a problem this is, down to the fucking dollar amount and the trade count. So a checklist boosts clarity. Pulse checking, taking a couple of sim trades before the session boosts clarity. You saw it in our statistics. You saw Chronic's P&L curve going two different fucking ways. Edge is clarity. Understanding the regime is edge, because I know how to do the finesse. Years of experience is edge. Hopefully, some of you never fucking learn. So what's behind this box? Time. And this all doesn't happen at one go. Sometimes it does. Like, some traders just, in 5 minutes, they fucking have gone through the entire kill chain, right? But typically, for some of you, a lot of you, the kill chain can unfold over the course of an hour, 2 hours, something like that. What happens over time? We have decision fatigue. When you are stressed out, when you're getting upset or tilting, when the body is actually stressed, it is burning up more nutrients. And the brain is really hungry for nutrients. So you're taking nutrients away from the brain so you can make actual solid trading decisions. And also, when you're stressed, the blood is flowing away from the prefrontal cortex which has a lot to do with impulse control. So when motherfuckers are online saying, just be more disciplined or whatever the fuck, just follow your fucking rules. Well, it's kind of hard to do when your brain doesn't have nutrients and the blood flow is waning away from the impulse control center of your fucking brain. I mean, shit. It's not that simple. If it was, keep it simple. If it was, the failure rate wouldn't be so high. So I'm going to tell you what happens to traders over the years. So as time goes on, you're going to continue to go through this kill chain after kill chain, especially if you're not actually working towards developing your edge and your psychology. Remember what I talked about with all that shit? People don't want to change. People are lazy. They're not willing to do this shit. The difference is trader work. Reviewing, recording the session, reviewing the session, tagging the trades, building playbooks, meditating. I mean, this is athleticism. This really is. This requires you to be a top performer to be able to pull it the fuck off. If it didn't, then the statistics of failure would not be so high. So as time goes on and you keep going through this cycle, right? Decision fatigue, burnout. Fuck, you're getting burned out. You're getting burned out on it. You're getting burned out on this shit. Getting burned out on the kill chain. Getting burned out on blown combines. Then what? Years pass. Then what? Emotional roller coaster. The chain, the kill chain, just these fucking emotions. Running through this goddamn emotions of being upset, tilted, FOMO, upset, tilted, FOMO, upset, tilted, fuck, emotional roller coaster. Then what happens? I'm losing fucking money. I've been losing money. Years have passed. I'm not seeing any goddamn progress. You give up. I've seen it. I've been here long enough that I've seen multi-year traders give up, and I've seen what happens. This isn't necessarily blowing combines, but this is what happens when people like quit. Like I have 20,000 subscribers. If you look at a trading channel, the amount of subscriber count to view ratio is really low compared to like other types of content. Why? Because most people are first-year traders. Most people don't fucking make it. They all eventually give up for the most part. So you still have subscribers on the channel, but they don't watch trading content anymore because they left. It's a high churn rate fucking job. Why? Because of this, and then this. Once you've been doing this for 5 years and you look at it and it seems like there's absolutely no fucking progress, you're like, holy shit, I'm older and that is time I'm never going to get back. I'm 39 years old and I can't fucking believe it. Like, I can't believe it. I feel like I'm still 20 or some shit in my head, but I'm not. I'm an additional 20 years older. I remember when I was 20. It's fucking nuts how fast time flies. And then a lot of people look back at it and they're like, holy fuck, I've wasted all these years of my fucking life for nothing. And this is what this channel is about. Do the fucking work. You have to do the fucking work. Chronic and I are doing the work, and I'm documenting it. The work has to be fucking done. Not everybody wants to do this shit. Who wants to do this? Who wants to read that? High reds. That's who. The people who want to do research and understand and know everything about it. That's who makes it, in my opinion. But even then, you need to be able to tolerate risk. You got to tolerate risk as well. We're both high reds and mid greens. And I didn't plan this shit out. Look, guys, you need to take this shit seriously. Or get the fuck out, because I'm telling you, once you get to this point, you are going to feel like fucking shit. You're going to be so goddamn... I've seen it. I've seen like there's an influencer I know, and he's getting to this give up point. I can tell. And he's starting to get more and more pessimistic about what the job entails. So what do we do about this shit? What do we do to prevent the kill chain? Well, luckily for you, I bring solutions. I'm all about solutions because I specify. I need to know. Number 1, ice bath. I know that seems absolutely fucking nuts. So, oh my God, how many? So let's take this and move it on over. Where does this fit into the kill chain? Now, I know this seems like a wild fucking solution. You can take a cold shower or do whatever. Ice baths are really good for boosting serotonin or dopamine, one of those chemicals in your brain. It's also really difficult to do. If it's extremely cold, it's really difficult to do. But you know what else is difficult to do? Getting away from the kill chain. Because the further you go down the kill chain, the harder it is to get out of it. Discipline and willpower will not get you out. You have to catch this shit early. The earlier you catch it, the more likely you can prevent this. because there's a point once you get too far, you can't fucking stop it. So ice baths are good pattern interrupts. If I'm feeling impatient or I'm starting to get upset over my first loss, throw that goddamn ice bath in right here. I'm going to jump the fuck in there and it's going to shock me right in my fucking brain, and it can help break my emotional temperature from rising. Look at green to red. Emotional temperature is rising to blowout. Let's cool down, right? When you're getting stressed out, you seem to get hotter. You run more warm. Let's cool the fuck down. When people are pissed off, they call it running hot, right? Let's cool the fuck down. Let's go over to the next solution. Cold pressed beets. I know this sounds fucking insane, right? What'd you expect? So, juicing, man. What did I say here? Decision fatigue. As time goes on, you're going to get decision fatigue. There's really no way around that. And as you get hotter and hotter, your brain is burning more nutrients, more stress, more nutrients are being burned up, right? We need to replenish those nutrients. Beets are awesome because they increase blood flow. And blood flow is important for impulse control. You want more blood flow to the prefrontal cortex. Juicing is really good. Anytime I juice, what I do is a mix of beets, carrots, and celery. Carrots are great for the eyes. And when you juice, it hits you right away, especially if you haven't ate, so you're going to feel it almost immediately. It's also really healthy to do. It'll make you feel good, you'll feel happy, you'll feel more focused, so there's other benefits other than blood flow. So I like to have some of these prepared, so if the session is going to be longer than I expected, I can replenish all of my fucking nutrients I'm burning up, so that way I'm not hitting decision fatigue as soon as I would if I'm not doing this, right? It's a race against time. It really is. You shouldn't be trading all fucking day long, because at some point decision fatigue is going to creep in, and the more burnt out or tired you get because of decision fatigue, you're almost trading from a state where you're like a drunk person, right? And you're just not going to make good decisions. So having these prepped up and ready to go, drink one every 30 minutes or something like that, will be able to allow you to hang in there longer, and you're just going to feel better, more focused. So that can prevent this from getting out of hand. So this is more like preventative maintenance in a sense. I think this is nutritional edge. It's fucking edge. That's right. Drinking vegetable juice is fucking edge. And don't be buying that prepackaged bullshit, because there's a bunch of sugars and shit in there. Your diet definitely matters in here. If you're having too much caffeine, you're going to fucking crash and you're going to have decision fatigue. Too many carbs, you're going to crash. You're going to have decision fatigue. So we need to prevent decision fatigue. We need to keep it at bay. This will help. What's the next solution? Review. Just makes sense. But it's not just reviewing at the end of the day. If you take 2 losses in a row, and this is what we do with chronic, let's say his pulse check is really good, and then he takes 2 trades that are losing. There's a problem going on. And I know that he's going to start getting hotter. It's just natural. We all do. So what do? We immediately stop trading 2 losses in, and he may not be upset or impatient after 2 losses. Like, he may have clarity, and then it goes loss, loss. And upset over P&L may come in, so we need to throw that right the fuck there. Let's immediately stop, look at your recording, and review it. And then we need to figure out what went wrong. So that way we can come back today in the session and immediately remedy the problem, instead of having a lack of clarity kill chain continue to pan out. What's the next solution? Breath work. So this would be like Wim Hof breaths, which is essentially hyperventilating. So you're breathing rapidly through the mouth, and then at some point, you're going to exhale all the air and hold on the out breath. When you hyperventilate, what it's doing is it's forcing you into a delta wave brain state like this. You can see it on brain scans. Hyperventilating slows the brain waves way down. This is a way to tap into the subconscious mind. If you're unfamiliar with my psychological talks, this is a great way to get up to speed. Read through this. A lot of our decisions that we are making, it's a really high percentage, 90-something% of our decisions are unconsciously made, okay? So we're kind of running on autopilot, especially when we're trading. This is why your kill chains keep looking like this. We need to throw in things like this to fucking break the kill chain. And the more we do that, the more unconscious it becomes, the more of a habit it starts to become, a good habit. So with breath work, this is a great way to fix emotional problems. Maybe Chronic doesn't take a trade, but he's starting to become impatient. I can hear it in his voice. We immediately stop the session. I'll put on some rain sounds. So he's going to listen to rain sounds in the background, and then he's going to listen to a binaural beat. He's going to listen to a delta wave binaural beat. And then what we'll do is breath work. And on the exhale, his brain's going to just be feeling crazy. It's almost like you're getting high, actually. It's very euphoric. And then I start to feed him positive messages about how patient he is. And then I talk about the specific session or the specific regime we are in right now. And then I start to feed him the ideal emotions he needs to be feeling. Because the kill chain is you experiencing non-ideal emotions. And we need to train ourselves from a psychological perspective because it makes edge easier when you have good psychology. We need to train ourselves from a psychological aspect to be calm, to be patient, to be okay with the P&L. And that takes time. And when I can get somebody into a delta wave state, a trance-like state, I can start to reprogram the subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind is being programmed through repetition. So the more you go through these kill chains and do nothing to pattern interrupt it, the more you're reinforcing this, and the more likely this will happen, where you give up. You're going to give up because the emotional roller coaster is too much, because you are not pattern interrupting, and you're not building in ideal emotions. And I identify Chronic's kill chain, and I throw little things like this in there as soon as I possibly can. What's the next solution? Hypnosis. So these are going to be longer, deeper breaks. Last week, and remember I showed you Chronic's P&L curve, right, from last week. Last week, I could tell he was starting to get confused. He started off really well, and it wasn't the fact that he was taking on losses or getting impatient or anything like that. See, the thing about clarity is, just because you have clarity at the beginning of the session doesn't mean you're going to maintain clarity throughout the entire session, because this is always changing. This is always changing throughout the session. So your clarity will come and then it'll go away. It'll come back and then it'll go away, okay? Whether you're tilted or not, your clarity is going to come and go, come and go. And we need to find that window of clarity. Hopefully it's open for a longer amount of time. Clarity is going to be open longer the more experience you have, right? Less experience means the clarity window is going to shut faster during the session. Last week, I noticed his clarity started going out the window. So what we did was we stopped to have a 20-minute hypnosis session. Hypnosis is going to put him in a trance-like state, and I'm going to be able to reprogram his subconscious mind. Now, if you're curious more about hypnosis, go to my channel, go to playlists, and then there's a full 4-episode hypnosis section talking all about it. This shit fucking works. I talk a lot about it in that blog I've recommended you guys watch or read. The link to the blog is in the description of this video, so go down, you'll find it. I talk extensively about this and why it's so important. This works. It works for me. It works for Chronic. This is how you make permanent psychological changes so you can have a better time cultivating edge. See, once you start to see all this shit, you're like, fuck, I don't know if I really want to do this, because you're lazy. What do we have for our next solution? Meditation. And look, this last one is not going to be in the same realm. You probably won't guess what this is. Meditation is very important. Meditation allows us to build focus. I already mentioned why. You're focusing on the breath. The brain wanders. You bring it back to focus. There's a football player named Kirk Cousins. He used to play for the Minnesota Vikings. There is a show on Netflix called Quarterback, Season 1. He has an episode where he starts to do brain training. He talks a lot about neural feedback devices where you put them on your head. And he does a lot of training on focus. And he said his games were a lot better when he did more mental training. Meditation is a way to get more mental training in. This is how you can boost focus. And, when you're just like, once you start to become aware of the kill chain, you throw this in there. Like, I'm getting impatient. I didn't take a trade yet, but I'm getting impatient. Let's take a meditation. I don't have an ice bath, right? Let's take a meditation. Make it a long meditation too. 10 minutes. You'll feel different. Now, hypnosis is like meditation on steroids. but you can't really facilitate this to yourself. You kind of can. You need to do a recording, right? That in itself is a skill set. But this is where I get the most results from, followed by breath work. If I was to pick anything, do a meditation, followed up by our breath work after the meditation. So it would look like this. I feel impatient. Let's do a meditation, and then we'll do our breath work. Pattern interrupt, pattern interrupt. Our final solution, accountability partner. This is the most important fucking thing. When you guys are running through the kill chain, like I said, the further you go down this, the harder it is to get out of it. You have to identify the problems as soon as possible. An accountability partner, somebody who's trading live with you, and you guys are talking to each other constantly, is going to be able to identify when you're getting into trouble. Trading is very much a team sport. I talk about it in that blog post. If it wasn't for me, Chronic would, not to toot my own horn, but he has gotten substantially better, faster than any other trader that I've personally met in less time. There are 4 or 5 year traders that have not improved at the level Chronic has done in the last year. His improvement is drastic because he puts in the fucking work, and I'm his accountability partner, right? So when I notice he's impatient, I step in. When I notice he takes 2 losses, I step in. When I notice he's getting upset over the P&L, I step in. Pattern interrupt, pattern interrupt. I step in. I throw this out there. We need to do a review, Chronic. Then I throw this on there. Let's try the breath work, Chronic. How do you feel? Oh, I don't feel that good, Fat Cat. All right, let's do a hypnosis session. Boom, 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 boom. We do all of these things mid-session, and he comes back completely feeling good. And then he trades better. This happens a lot. An accountability partner can disrupt the kill chain. Now, somebody just telling you to stop trading isn't good enough, right? We need to do the breath work. We need to do the review. We need to do some form of meditation, something, right? Because when we're running hot, an accountability partner tells you to go take a walk. That may not be good enough. When we're starting to run hot, we're starting to get impatient. We need to come back to ground zero. We need to get into a place of calm, zen, patience, where you truly feel it at your core. And the more you're running through the kill chain, the more you do this shit, the more you're building a good habit of solid psychology, the less this becomes a fucking problem. Therefore, you're more likely to be getting more fucking payouts. All of this, God knows how long this video is. I know it's well over an hour and a half. All of this is why these statistics look the way they fucking do. I've dealt with it enough. I've been here long enough. I can tell you there are patterns, and I explain what they were. This is why this looks like that. So is trading really that simple? No. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and if you did, give me a like. Subscribe to the channel. Helps the fucking algo. You've made it this far. You must have found value here. I'll see you in the next one.